Hello everyone, my name is Evgeny and I'm a professional certified teacher of Russian on italki.com. Thank you for joining me today. Здравствуйте, меня зовут Евгений, и я профессиональный преподаватель русского как иностранного. Спасибо, что присоединились к моему сегодняшнему уроку. Well, today I would like to conduct for you an introductory lesson to the Russian language. I will try to give you different levels of materials. First, we will start with the alphabet. Then I will tell you about some cultural things and common mistakes which foreigners make pronouncing Russian names. We will talk about some Russian writers, so I hope that it will be interesting for you from a cultural perspective as well. And I hope that you will practice alphabet. If you're a beginner, that would be helpful for you for sure. And if we have time, I will also give you some more advanced topics on Russian. Okay, I will teach you some 3 common mistakes which students make in Russian. Okay, so and I would also like to talk a bit about the methodology of learning languages and about learning Russian in particular. Yeah. I have been teaching on italki for over 3 years now, and I have taught more than 2,500 lessons. And I have a big experience, and I saw many students, and some of my students were really successful. So I would like to share with you the experience of my most successful students, okay? And just summarize this experience for you. I'm a language learner myself. Basically, my main foreign language that I learned is English, and I reached the C2 level in it. Yeah, but I also tried to learn some other languages. I could say that I'm kind of A1 in French as my passive skills, maybe A2. I like to read articles about linguistics and languages in general, about the history of languages, history of languages in general, like there are families in the European language family, Semitic language family, other language families, yeah. So I hope that this lesson will be useful for you. So if you're ready, then let's begin. Let's talk about Russian alphabet first of all. I'm going to share my screen with you, and we will learn the alphabet. Alphabet in Russian is pronounced as alphavit. Alphavit. We'll underline the stressed syllable. Okay. The Russian alphabet was created about 1,000 years ago. Okay, and it was based on the late Greek language, so-called Byzantine Greek language. The tradition says that there were 2 Greeks, Cyril and Methodius, and they created the alphabet. But the modern science says that maybe it was their students who created this alphabet, but Cyril and Methodius created another alphabet, which is now which is not used anymore. Anyway, they needed to translate Bible into Russian, and they decided to use the Greek alphabet. Yeah, so just like Latin alphabet, which is also based on Greek, Cyrillic alphabet is also based on Greek, but it's based on the late Greek version. That's why you will see some differences. In the modern Russian alphabet, we have 33 letters, and the first letter is A. The second letter is B. B. The third letter is V. V. It comes from the Greek letter beta, okay? Just like Latin letter B. B. B comes from the Greek letter gamma. B. B. Guess what letter is this in Greek? Delta, yeah. 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 Yo. Yo. Że. Że. Ze. Ze. I. 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 A. A. L. L. M. M. N. N. O. O. P. It's like the Greek letter pi, which we use in mathematics, yeah. R. R. It's like the Greek letter rho. S. S. P. P. U. U. F. F. It's like the Greek letter phi. H. H. Just like the first sound of English word hello, yeah. H. H. C. C. This one is a bit difficult maybe for English speakers. C. 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 Che. Che. Same sound as CH in English. Sha. Sha. The same sound as SH. Sha. Sha. Sh is similar to sh, but it has a little bit different pronunciation. When you say sh, sh, your tongue moves a little bit backwards. When you say sh, sh, it goes a little bit forward. Then we have a special letter which is called soft sign. Yeah, it doesn't have a capital version of it because it's never begins a word. It comes after consonants only, and it modifies consonants. Soft sign. It doesn't have any sound. Then we have U. U. This is a vowel sound, and we have hard sign. Also another sign which comes only after consonants and also modifies consonants and doesn't have its own sound. And finally, three letters. E, this opened vowel sound. E, E, U, U, Ya. Yeah. All right. So we have 10 vowel letters in Russian, okay? Let's select them. A, Ye, Yo, I. The letter Y is considered a consonant in Russian grammar. Well, it's just a question of linguistics, yeah, but in Russian it's considered as a consonant. O, U, Y, and E, U, Ya. All right, so this is the Russian alphabet, 33 letters. All right, so let's try to practice some Russian. Let's write some words in Russian and try to read them. Why not? Let me choose some color for those words. Let's try to write words. I will select the stressed syllables with, I will underline them, okay? Let's try to read this word. P, A, S, P, A, R, T. The letter O, when it is stressed, it is read as O, but when it is unstressed, like in this word, it is read as A. So, pas, pass, part, passport, passport, passport. I, L, I, F, O. Here O is stressed, so we read it as O. N, T, Li, phone, telephone, telephone. S, M, A, R, T, F, O, N. Sma, R, T, phone, smartphone, smartphone. A, M, P. Soft sign makes consonants soft. We have consonants can be hard and soft in Russian. They have pairs and have slightly different pronunciation. Soft consonants are also called palatalized. And the soft sign makes consonants soft. So this is P sound. U, T, E, R. Come, P'u, ter. Computer, computer. And the last word, A, E, Ra, port, aeroport. Okay, I hope that this little practice helped you to learn and to understand a bit how Russian letters works, yeah? Some students are really scared of the Cyrillic alphabet, yeah, but it's just a matter of a bit of practice, okay? My best students, when they organized their lessons, yeah, they used time blocks, okay? They didn't set some goal in distant future, for example, as we usually do at schools or universities when you have a deadline. Yeah. Maybe this is a good strategy when you have a real deadline, when you need to enroll to university, for example. Yeah. But this strategy, when you set a deadline, you basically what you have to do, you have to take a textbook, structured textbook, divided by the number of days, and try to follow this plan. Yeah, like a written plan. Many students don't like too much restricted plans, you know, and I think that this strategy is not very good when you have an individual tutor, you know, because this strategy is too much rigid and doesn't give you freedom, doesn't give your tutor flexibility, enough flexibility, you know, and some free space for improvisation. Yeah, it's much better to not be restrained by a structured lesson course, actually, you know, but to follow time blocks. You're also bound with time, like your goal is time bound again. Yeah, but you don't set some distant date, okay, goal, but you just say to yourself that every day I will study from 9 till 10, for example, you know. And this strategy has a lot of benefits. When you study with time blocks, I really recommend you. I tried it myself and I found it really effective. First of all, when you study every day, you can assimilate the language. You know, you will not be able to assimilate language if you study once or twice a week. That's for sure, because it's just too rare. You need much more frequent repetition. You need everyday studies. Secondly, you are not restrained by a structured course. And for some students, it's too difficult to follow a structured course and it's too difficult to keep motivation, you know. The third point is that when you study with a time block, when you sit actually at your desk to study, yeah, you know when you are going to finish. You know that in 1 hour you will be free, yeah, and it's psychologically much easier than study till the end of the lesson, yeah, because you don't know. In this case, you would not know when you are going to finish the lesson. Maybe it will be 30 minutes if the lesson is simple, or 2 hours, yeah. So just set an alarm, and when the alarm goes off, just stop in the middle of a sentence, even if you really want to continue, you know. This creates some psychological effect, and it will your brain would feel some incompletion, you know, and tomorrow it will be interesting for you to resume your studies, you know, to continue. It helps you with motivation a lot, you know. And also it helps you to create a positive habit. Learning a language should not be a burden. It should not be something difficult, okay. It should become some pleasant everyday ritual that you do daily, yeah. This way it will be much easier to study. You don't need to force yourself to use your will, yeah, because when you study once a week, it's really difficult. It's really difficult to force yourself to study, yeah. But when you have just a time block, you don't need to think about it. The decision is taken already. You just know that every day you do this, you know. And actually, we are creatures of habits, yeah. Like psychologists say that maybe 19% of our decisions in the day, of our actions in the day, are dictated by habits, yeah. If we had to take decisions with our mind, with our logic every time, yeah, we would just become crazy, yeah. It's too difficult. So that's why nature gave us this mechanism of habits, yeah, and we should use it. Habits can be bad, yeah, but they can also be positive and good, and we can create them. So try to create a positive habit, and you will see that you will study a language really easily and fast. Okay. If you are an English-speaking person, or if your mother tongue is not a Slavic language, of course, Russian language would be more difficult for you than some language of your own linguistic family, for example, Roman languages or German languages. Yeah. But anyway, if you switch on this assimilation thing, yeah, I guarantee you that it's not that much difficult to study Russian. Yes, we have quite a complicated grammar, and you need to use logic. I'm not against logic, okay? I just think that many students underestimate assimilation. Logic can help us. It can help us to accelerate our studies, okay? And A1 level in Russian is the most complicated level. It is kind of paradoxal, but I think that's true, because at the A1 level, you need to learn a lot of grammar, without which you just cannot speak. It is required. It's just that is just how Russian language works. You need to know 6 grammar cases, yeah, and you need to know perfective and imperfective aspect verbs. You need to know verbs of motion and 3 tenses. We have past, present, and future. Excuse me. And but if you have built this solid A1 level, yeah, if you master this, and the standard says that it takes about 85 hours to reach the A1 level. You need to learn 780 words, and you need to learn that grammar that I mentioned. So 85 hours, it's just, well, maybe 2.5 months, 3 months, maybe, yeah? If you study every day 1 hour, yeah? If you study every day 1 hour, that is realistic. If you skip, yeah, if you study once in 2 days, it will take maybe 100 hours, 120 hours already, yeah? And etc. If you study once a week, you are not learning at all anything, you know? You're learning facts about a language, but you're not learning the language itself. You're just learning some logical concepts, but you're not learning the language. So basically that's it. And I would also mention maybe the last point on methodology. And when you choose a teacher on italki, try to find not only a professional, but a person who would share the same interests, especially if you plan to take lessons regularly and often, yeah? If you can't take lessons with a teacher, I would anyway really advise you to take lessons at least once a week, or I don't know, once in 2 weeks, and just have your teacher as your guide, because believe me, it will save you a lot of time. It will. I saw a lot of students who would come to me at intermediate level, but they would still make a lot of mistakes of A1 level, yeah, and it's very difficult to correct those mistakes and reteach them, yeah. So it's better to have a guide who would guide you through the language and save you from mistakes, you know. And Russian teachers like myself, yeah, we follow TOEFL standards. We have this TOEFL standard test of Russian for foreign language. The standards are written. We know what grammar you need to know, what rules you need to know. Yeah. And I personally like to use more Russian textbooks. The minus of Russian textbooks is that sometimes they have bad English translation in them. Yeah, not very good translated tasks, or just not a very good translation in English. But on the other hand, they are very good from the point of view of the TOEFL standard, yeah. Whereas foreign books, they might have a very good English language in them, and maybe also a perspective at the language from outside, for example, from the point of view of an English speaker, yeah. So there can be a lot of insights there, yeah, but they often don't follow TOEFL, and practically never even famous brands of those textbooks, and they sometimes teach you wrong pronunciation, some simplified versions of pronunciation. So I would advise you to have a Russian textbook as the main course, and in addition to it, if you want foreign textbooks. All right. I hope that this, I just summed up my advice, yeah, and I hope that this was helpful for you. All right, so I have prepared some other materials for you. Let's try to learn some cultural things and maybe practice our alphabet a bit more, okay? Let's talk about 10 Russian names that you pronounce wrong, okay? Let me share my screen again. All right. So you might know this old gentleman, yeah? This is Leo Tolstoy, yeah? Actually, this is not a painting, it's a photo. It is one of those first color photos in history, and this photo is more than 100 years old. So how do we pronounce the name of this great Russian writer in Russian correctly? Yeah, we pronounce it this way. Lev, Lev. So L, E, F. This V letter is read as F, F, because it is devoiced at the end. Lev. Nikolaevich, Nikolaevich Tolstoy. Again, note that unstressed O is I, yeah? Tolstoy. This is the IP transcription for you. And maybe the first thing that you noticed is the fact that there are 3 names here, right? All Russians actually have 3 names. We have имя, which means name. We have отчество. It comes from the old Russian word отче, which means father. In the modern Russian, it's отец. And this stands for patronymic or patronym or father's name. And we don't choose this name. It is automatic. Yeah. So Nikolaevich means that the father of Tolstoy was Nikolai. Okay. And we have familia, surname or last name or family name. This one is also automatic. We inherit it from our fathers, yeah. And wives usually take the familia of their husband, but that's not obligatory. So all Russians have 3 names. Lev, Nikolaevich, Tolstoy. As I told you, Russian alphabet is based on the Byzantine Greek alphabet, yeah? And this letter beta in Byzantine Greek was pronounced as Vita, Vita, and that's why in Russian alphabet it's pronounced as V, and in Latin it's pronounced as B, yeah? So, and that's why in English we say alphabet, alpha, beta, yeah? And in Russian we say alphavit, alpha, vita, Okay, let's go forward. This is a very famous Russian poet and writer, Alexander Pushkin. Yeah. He was born in 1799, and he died, if I'm not mistaken, in 1836 or 37, I think 36, at a duel. And he's considered the greatest Russian poet. Yeah, he's not as famous as Tolstoy outside of the country. Yeah, but in Russia, everybody knows him in Russia. We study his poems at schools, and you might ask me, why is he considered the greatest? Yeah, and can we choose the greatest poet at all? Yeah, we have a lot of great poets in Russian, like Tyutchev, I don't know, Boris Pasternak, Joseph Brodsky, yeah, and a lot of other great poets actually. But Pushkin is a bit special because he's considered a creator of not only the Russian literature, because Russian literature is very young. Basically, it was created in the beginning of 19th century, in the middle of 19th century. Yeah, but he's also considered a creator of the modern Russian language. Okay, because he started to write literature in a special language. No one was no one used Russian language this way before Pushkin. Yeah. Maybe you know that in 18th century, 19th century, aristocracy spoke French, and French was considered like a high style of speech, and Russian was considered like a kind of a low style of speech. But Pushkin made русский язык, Russian language, neutral stylistically and high even. He used Russian in his poetry and worked with styles, and that's why he's considered the greatest poet. Alexander, note that we say X, not Gz, Sergeyevich, his father was Sergei, Pushkin. This is the IPA for you. And another Greek letter, R. Yeah, just a little tip for you, so you don't confuse it with P in English. Yeah, this is R in Russian because it comes from the Greek letter Ro. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Yeah, how do we read his name in Russian correctly? Fyodor, O becomes A. Fyodor Mikhailovich. His father was Mikhail. Michael, yeah. Dostoevsky. V is read as F because it's devoiced. And at the end we have two sounds. I, Y. Not one sound. I, Y. Dostoevsky. Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky. Well, when words were transliterated into Russian from Greek, two letters in Greek were transliterated into Russian with letter F. This is letter Phi and letter Theta. Yeah, Theta. And before the revolution in Russia, yeah, we had a bit different alphabet, and we had a few other letters, and one of those was Theta, and it was the Greek letter Theta, basically. And we use this letter for the words borrowed from Greek. So since Fyodor is a Greek name, yeah, it comes from Greek, Dostoevsky's name was written this way, actually. Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky. Okay. And this theta or theta can be transliterated into in two ways, like f sound and like t or th sound. Yeah. Maybe you know that there are two types of Greek pronunciations. There is so-called Reuchlinian pronunciation, which comes after Johann Reuchlin. Yeah, and Reuchlin, when he created his system, as I know, he used the late Byzantine Greek version of Greek, just like the Greek language which was used in the first centuries of Cyrillic alphabet and after the translation of Bible, and we have a lot of words, Greek words, borrowed at those first centuries after the translation of Bible into Russian. And all of those words would be transliterated in Russian with F sound for this theta letter. But there is also the Erasmian pronunciation created by Erasmus. And Erasmus, he used the Latin transcription of, when he tried to reconstruct the ancient Greek, yeah, he used the Latin transcription of the Greek language. And if I'm not mistaken, he used the names of Greek cities transliterated into Latin. And it was T sound, or TH. And that's why in English you say Theodore, yeah, and in Russian we say Fyodor. And the last writer that I want to talk about today is Anton Chekhov. Yeah, Anton Pavlovich. His father was Pavel, Pavel Chekhov. Note that KH stands for H, like hello, and V becomes F, as I told you already. Anton Pavlovich Chekhov. All right. This is the IPA for you. And maybe you notice that a lot of Russian last names end with "ov." Yeah, it's a typical male last name. And V is pronounced as F. So there are two types of transliteration, Ivanov or Ivanov. And actually both are correct. The first one follows the written language and the second one follows the actual pronunciation. Okay? And Ova is a typical ending of a female last name. For example, Ivanova. Okay, let's take a look at some other names, just some pairs for you. Ivan, Ivan. The stress is on the second syllable, yeah? Ivan. Maria, Maria. Oleg is pronounced as Oleg, Oleg. Anastasia is pronounced as Anastasia, Anastasia. Vladimir is pronounced as Vladimir. The second syllable is stressed, Vladimir. Anna becomes in Russian Anna. Anna. All right, I hope that this was helpful for you and that you learned something new for yourself. If you're a beginner in Russian, don't be scared of the Russian language, okay? Actually, maybe it's a myth that Russian is much more complicated than, for example, English, yeah? Because, of course, if you compare A1 level in English and A1 level in Russian, Russian would be more difficult because you need to learn a lot of grammar in the beginning, as I told you, yeah? But think about this interesting fact about languages. If a language has a very simple grammar like English, yeah, the role of vocabulary increases, yeah, and English is the richest language in the world in terms of vocabulary. It's really, really difficult to reach the C2 level in English. You know, you need to read a lot, you need a lot of input because words never end. And words have a lot of different meanings. Yeah. So I would say C2 in English and C2 in Russian basically is the same. I mean, the same difficulty. Yeah. Because in Russian, we have more difficult grammar, but the role of vocabulary is lower, maybe. Yeah. Although Russian is also a very rich language, you know, it's Russian has been lingua franca in this region around Russia. Yeah. So of course we have also a lot of vocabulary, but I would say that if we talk about C2 levels, the difficulty is the same, pretty much the same. I would advise you to not underestimate assimilation, as I told you in the beginning of the lesson, yeah? And also don't be afraid of the language. When you come to your lesson with a teacher, don't be afraid to ask him to read with you a fragment from your favorite book in Russian, yeah, or a fragment from a film. You can just take a fragment from subtitles. It's okay to try not adapt texts with your teacher. No risk at all. And you will just get a lot of questions, and that's always good. It's always better to go from a question to explanation, you know. And it also will show your teacher that you're not scared of a language, yeah? Because many teachers, they are a bit scared to scary their student, yeah? They're scared to give a student too difficult tasks, yeah, and to demotivate a student. So you need to show your teacher that you're not afraid of the language, okay? And ask questions. Always ask questions. It's very good. Don't underestimate reading as well. Many students underestimate reading. Reading is a great method. It's you get a lot of input, yeah, and you can see words and grammar in context. It's very important. So read with parallel translation. We read with graded level text, yeah, like A1 text, A2. Read with audio. All of these reading types are good, and read slowly with learning all the words and analyzing all details, and train also speed reading when you read fast, and don't translate 100% of words, but you read fast. So try different types of reading and balance them. It's important to use all of them. Yeah, it will help you to develop your passive skills. It's also very important. Yeah, there are passive skills when you basically when you it's input of a language, you learn words and see grammar structures. It's understanding, so it's reading and listening. Yeah, and there are active skills when you speak, when you produce a language, when you speak and when you write, and you need to balance those two. Yeah, one is impossible without another. You cannot produce, you cannot speak if you don't have any passive knowledge yet, you know? When you write an essay, for example, don't write an essay just for a random topic. It's always better to, for example, to read an article in Russian first, or to watch a film in Russian first, and to read some reviews about this film maybe, yeah? And then write your own review about this film. So you would use those words from the film and from the review, yeah, and you will activate them. But many students don't understand this principle. I think it's a very easy principle to understand, but many students miss it, yeah. And what they do when they write an essay, basically they try to translate their thoughts from English into Russian, and it's always horrible because you're trying to use English constructions, English terms, in English ways of thinking, etc. But what you need to do, as I told you, is to first assimilate something and then try to activate it. That's a correct way to train production skills, okay? Okay, so my time is up here. Thanks for watching. I hope that my advice was helpful for you. I wish you success in your studies in Russian and in other languages. Enjoy languages and linguistics, and thanks for watching, and see you at the lessons. Bye.